Hey, good day, everyone. I'm Dale Kula, subbing in for John Roberts this week, and it is time for your Wednesday edition of the Berkshire Hathaway podcast. And today in the studio, we have on realty expert Adam Helgeson, and he'll be talking with us today right after this.
Real estate can feel a lot like this, but you should expect more when you're buying or selling a home. You should feel taken care of by someone who can turn jitters into ah. Someone with the tools and knowledge to help you find the one or sell yours.
We'll take it.
Someone who can make real estate feel less like that and more like this. That's Home Services. Berkshire Hathaway Home Services.
Well, welcome back, everyone, to the Berkshire Hathaway podcast. And joining me across from me at the GFBS studios is the one and the only Adam Helgeson.
Hello, hello.
I have to do the crowd claps in honor of John. I know he loves the crowd claps.
Yeah.
As do I. How have you been lately?
Been busy, figure skating, working. No, not me figure skating, but my traveling with my kids and, just working, slinging houses.
I cannot remember the last time I've been figure skating. It has been way too long. I do not even want to imagine. It'll probably just be me tumbling and flubbling around like this.
Yeah, I grew up in this area and I never really learned how to skate. I mean, I can get out there and I can do the turn. I can turn and stop, but that's about it. So,
yeah, I think I always hear if you know ice skating, you know rollerblading. I think several years ago I was like, I'm going to try and take up rollerblading. It was just me walking on rollerblades around the block, going just flailing my arms. It was sad.
I can rollerblade. That's easy.
Oh gosh, yeah. One day I still got those rollerblades. I got to learn how to prep for it properly. Just like we got to learn how to prep your house for extreme weather, like this crazy pendulum winter we've been having so far this year.
It's been a little crazy out there. A little chilly the last few days. So getting your house prepped and ready is huge. Can't really do this now, but in the summer months, preparing for winter, you always want to seal up those drafts. Walk around your house, get out the caulk and weather stripping, and make sure those doors and stuff aren't drafty. A big one too is insulating pipes. Now, in the newer houses, it's not that big of a deal, but a lot of older houses, they either the basements get cold, or they used to run pipes on the exterior walls, which don't have that good of insulation between the pipes and the exteriors. They can get cold. So you can wrap them with insulation. There's heat tape type of stuff. Last thing you want is your water pipe freezing and bursting.
Well, we were talking a little bit before we went on air, all the crazy winter weather that has been hitting the southern states here this last couple of days. And a lot of them are seeing snow and ice, heavy amounts of it for the first time in quite a while. And you can only imagine if their homes took the necessary steps for this rare weather.
No, they probably didn't, because a lot of the houses down there don't even have insulation. So, that's why a lot of people complain, like, why are houses up here so more expensive? Well, they have to prep for all the different weather, all different seasons. So the insulation, different types of roofings, that type of stuff. Another thing you always want to check too is your attic insulation. You usually want 16 to 18 inches of depth. That blow-in stuff can settle. You can always get extra and blow in. The only thing you don't want to do, if you notice in your roof trusses, there'll be some baffles, right? Little cardboard things in there. You don't want to plug those up, because what that does is on the soffits underneath your roof overhang, the cold air comes up into your attic and then out the top, right? You want good airflow in your attic, because what that does is it lets the insulation work and keep the heat inside. That cold air circulates up in the attic, and it keeps your roof frozen with the snow on your roof too, which is another insulator. So
it's like a
helps.
Good kind of air coming in.
Correct. Yes.
So if people want to know, if us kids in our adventurous days going up into the attics to look at old just our old just files and just boxes of goodies up there, we could scrounge around. That's why it's always so cold.
Yep, exactly. Because if you think a lot of these older houses, you can have access to the attic. There's no insulation on the actual rafters, so the only insulation you have is between those floor joists, which usually isn't 16 to 18 inches thick. So,
and I guess also conversely is why it's always so roasting in the summer months.
Correct. Always have your furnace and heating system serviced. I get a lot when we do home inspections. They're like, oh, the home inspector says this furnace is at the near end of lifespan. Well, they have to do that if it's at a certain age or older, right? But maintenance is key. I use the analogy, if you go buy a brand new car and you don't change the oil for 3 years, it's probably not going to run very good. But you can have a 1969 Corvette that's been meticulously maintained and it runs like a top. So age isn't always a factor. You want to look at the maintenance and how it's been taken care of. So it's always good to have your furnace and stuff maintained. Also look for a possible secondary heat source. I just sold a manufactured home just outside of town, and they had in their living room in the corner, they had a big pellet stove. And that was a huge heat source. And what they would do is they'd just kick fans each way, in the living room, and they'd kick it down the hallways, and they could heat the whole house with that pellet stove.
I was going to say, for laymen like me, that's not on top of the latest heating lingo. I'm completely unfamiliar with a pellet stove. If you mind elaborating.
Okay, so yeah, you can buy. It's almost like you ever see the pellet smokers?
Okay, yeah,
right. The little pellets like that, and they burn in it. They burn hot, and then there's a fan in there that just kicks it out. So it's instead of having like a wood burning fireplace. Right, you fill the hopper full of pellets, and those little pellets just burn and kick out heat, and it constantly fills in, almost like a pellet smoker.
Okay,
but they burn really hot, and it works as a great heat source.
Good, and especially for these crazy recent weeks, I'm sure that second heat source would be very, very welcomed.
Yes. A third thing too, when it comes to heating systems, space heaters are always nice if you have rooms that are chilly. Just don't use like the Buddy Mr. heaters, like go in a propane tank or stuff like that. Carbon monoxide can be an issue. Those old ones that got red hot, they have fire issues. Get the
more modern ones.
The more modern ones, they're more energy efficient and they're safer. The biggest cause of fires is space heaters.
I recall seeing those and seeing restrictions on those at various apartments over the years. And I once asked my dad to borrow me a space heater or if he had an extra one, and because I had a modern one, but it went bad after a couple of years, and he gave me one that you perfectly described, looked like it came from like the 60s, where I was just like, I saw it light up and I'm like, I don't trust this here. Yeah. This looks way too old school.
Well, and what a lot of people do is they'll want it closer to their bed. Well, the cord's not very long, so then they'll go get an extension cord, but a lot of times they'll just get those little cheapy extension cords like you get at
like
Target.
A little $3 or $5 one.
Yep. And though the wire in there is not thick enough to, supplement the power that heater is pulling, and that extension cord will actually heat up and catch on fire.
Oh no!
From the power that heater's pulling. So,
make sure to get the heavy duty extension cords if you have to.
Don't even use extension cords, right? Space heaters, any heat source needs to be plugged directly into the outlet.
Directly into the outlet. Okay. Yep. I learned something new. That's something I probably took for granted. Yeah.
Next, protect your plumbing, right? Like we kind of talked about it, insulate the pipes. The outdoor water shutoffs. Newer houses, they have the self-draining valves. So when you actually screw your outdoor faucet, the rubber stopper that stops the water is probably a foot or so into the house, and then the water drains out after it's closed. Where the older ones are right on the outside of the house, so you have water coming up to that shutoff valve outside, which in these cold temperatures can easily freeze and burst right inside your house and flood. So I always recommend, if you have an older style, find the pipe inside, put a shutoff inside, so when the winter comes, you can shut it off inside, and drain that. Or else, too, they make little styrofoam insulators that cover on the outside, too, to help protect it. Your faucets, if you have, like another manufactured home, they had to leave the faucet on just a tiny, tiny bit so the water would just drip. What that does is it keeps the water flowing through the pipes and it won't freeze, even in colder temps. So that's a trick too. And another thing too is if you have an older house and it gets cold under your cabinets, leave your cabinet doors open and maybe blow a fan or something so that warm air from your furnace can circulate under the cabinets.
Just help keep more warmer airflow going.
Yep, exactly.
Would you find like for some of these like when selling some homes, like I want to say I talked to someone a few years ago when they were selling their home, just like a lot of like little things you take for granted, like for like winterizing tips or summer tips, getting ready for summer, that they would have like a little guide or a little like a little, here's our winter list, here's our summer prep list. Would you find all kinds of those, and people having like this is actually a very unique for our house. We have this very unique setup where we got to twist this knob this way or activate this lever that way. Have you run into all kinds of scenarios like that?
Yeah, and that's why it's always nice for the homeowners to meet at closing and just ask, hey, is there anything unique about the house that I need to know about? You know what I mean? Situations like that. Or, were there any tricks you learned to do to winterize it or summarize it or whatever that would definitely help. And I've actually had sellers make a little checklist or, hey, this is what I do. And so, having that knowledge is definitely nice. Walking into a home blind sometimes is a little tricky.
It's got to probably have like a lot of peace of mind, too. I don't know if it's that common to have like a homeowner exchange meeting where they could go over, just pick their brains about just little odds and ends. I know when I sold my vehicle before, it was an older vehicle, and it was kind of like similar thing. I'm like, oh yeah, this is an older vehicle. Every now and again the dome light stays on, but if you do this, you don't got to worry about it. Things like that.
Yeah, you got to turn the radio knob 3 times to the left and hit the clutch, and then it'll start type of scenario. But and we even have homeowners swap phone numbers and like, hey, if you have any questions or run into something you don't know, give me a call, So that's really nice. Some homeowners just don't want that.
No, it just all depends on the person, I guess.
Yeah. Another good thing to do in the winter if you're worried about heat and that type of stuff is your windows. A lot of these older houses, you'll see they just have the single pane glass, with the storm windows. If you have storm windows, put them on because that single pane glass isn't going to help the cold. There's different things. I know there's companies here in town that make magnetic storm windows that go on the inside. They're custom made. They work really well. They're a little spendy. Of course, you've seen the plastic wrap.
Right? I've used those in the past.
Yep, heat it and it shrink wraps it. You ever been into an older house and see the pull cord with these big heavy curtains that go? Mm-hmm. Right? Why do you think they did that?
Oh gosh, is it
not for aesthetics? Yeah, for the thermal barrier, right? Yep. Those big heavy curtains would help block the cold coming in, from the windows.
Have like the thick curtains, be like an initial layer of defense, so to speak.
Correct. And two, don't get freaked out in this cold if you're by your window, right? Even in a newer house, and you feel a draft. Mm-hmm. Okay, what that is heat rises. So your heat vents are usually around your windows. So the hot air comes up and it hits that cold air, right? And those two are fighting. It's pushing the heat up and the cold down. So that makes it feel a little drafty by your windows. Trust me, in this wind in North Dakota, you'll be able to tell if you have a drafty window or not. If you just feel a little air circulation, that's normal.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I kind of consider that normal part of your just Grand Forks. Everywhere I've lived, apartments, homes, over the many, many winters here, where if I feel a little draft, it's fine. It'll be okay.
Yeah. Some of the energy saving tips too is the smart thermostats are really nice. They sense and monitor when someone's home, when it's not, so they'll actually lower the temperature while you're gone, kick it back up when you get back. You can do zone heating. Like I got a 2-story house, and my daughter's bedrooms would always be cold, so I had them install zone heating. So the thermostat on the main level is zone 1. Once that is done calling for heat, right? Like, okay, this is at 70 degrees. There's dampers that shut off all the vents to the main level, and it kicks all the heat upstairs to the bedrooms. And then that thermostat up there runs zone 2. Oh. Same thing in the winter with the AC. They shut off and block off some vents so the air gets in different zones.
I have yet to convert to the smart thermostat. I'm learning all kinds of cool benefits from them just right now. With that zone heating, that's a new one for me.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, that's different than they have to go in and put the dampeners in the different, thermostats. Mm-hmm. But, if you just buy a smart thermostat or Nest or something like that, that's not going to give you the zone heating.
Okay, gotcha. It's got to be have a little extra installation to get your home ready for it.
Correct. Mm-hmm. Yep. And last, is just pets. I gave my dog a bath the other night when it was like 17 below, and my daughter right after is going to let her out to go to the bathroom.
Oh,
and
no.
I'm like, no, we'll have a popsicle out there. So,
Oh, gosh.
Keep your pets safe. And also, critters outside are looking for someplace warm. So if you're leaving your garage door open and stuff like that, don't be surprised if you have a critter hiding in there trying to find warmth, right? So they're both going in and out. So, feeders and stuff, keep them away from your house to encourage the critters to stay away from your house, not up close.
Shut those doors as soon as you open them. As my mom would say, I'm having a flashbacks. Oh, wow. Well, we've covered a ton of ground. Windows, pets, smart thermostats, space heaters directly into the outlets. Is there anything we missed here for your prepping your house for the extreme cold?
Well, I mean, I have a lot more stuff, but, just a lot of people like to shovel their roof. Just a quick thing, which... If we have a huge snowfall and the roof doesn't have a good slope, yes, you want to get some of that weight off there. But having snow on your roof is a good thing because, like I said, it gives you that insulator and helps with your heat expense. So,
well, there's another tip. Yeah, you don't want to have if a flat roof, have a good old fashioned Metrodome happen, collapse on you.
Yeah, and you can see some of these springs where they get that wet, heavy snow and it builds up. There's sheds and roofs collapse all over. I lost a pontoon that way.
Oh man. Well, if anyone has any questions for you for any other winterizing tips, what's the best way for everyone to reach out and contact you, Adam?
The best way is my cell phone. It's always on, 701-317-1750. You can check out my website, homesbyhelgeson.com. Lots of information on there, podcast series, tips on buying and selling, and all sorts of stuff. Or you can call any of us real estate experts at Berkshire Hathaway at 701-746-0303.
Well, there you go. Learned a ton today, and I hope you did as well, everyone tuning in. That will wrap up your Wednesday edition of the Berkshire Hathaway podcast. Many thanks again to Adam Helgeson for joining us today. Many thanks to producer Paul. We will be back with the next Berkshire Hathaway podcast this Friday morning at 10. Once again with Adam in the studio. Until then, have a great day, and we will see you Friday.